Welcome back to another episode on the Aaron Doughty podcast. Today, we're going to be going deep on understanding 3 pillars that if we apply in our life, I believe will completely transform our life. And this is honestly a result of me going through every message that I have, like all the thousands of there's like 1,500 YouTube videos out there. I've made topics on so many different things, but just to be completely transparent about this, like a part of what I've been doing lately is becoming very clear as to my own message and my own branding for what I want to share and put out into the world. And a lot of that has to do with, well, what is my core message? What do I really want to share with the world? What do I want to help people do? And I've realized it's helping people raise their vibration and helping making vibration something that's like easy to understand to the masses. Because right now, sometimes like, we get it. You listening to this podcast right now, you know what vibration is, or you at least have an idea of what it is. You're open to the spiritual information, and you're already there, which is awesome. But there's a lot of people that aren't even aware of their level of consciousness, that there are different levels of consciousness, that they can raise their vibration, that is life transforming. And the main message that I realized almost every video on YouTube that I have, which is 1,500 YouTube videos, is in one of these 3 categories that I'm about to share with you. And really, they are 3 pillars that help us understand that if we live by these 3 pillars, it will lead to a more high vibrational version of us. This is also the result of a 21-day Raise Your Vibration challenge that I did. Like, I started in August of 2020, this year, 2019, or 2020, yeah. What year is it? And I noticed that pretty much every video in there, and pretty much what it was is 21 days of letting go of that which is not us, and 21 days of wiring in that which is we prefer to be, and how that completely transforms our life when we make a new decision about who we are. And that's really what transformation is. I remember I was at a Tony Robbins conference, or whatever you call it, Date with Destiny last year in 2019. And when I was there, he has this saying, it's like, how long does it take to transform? It happens in an instant. Happens like that. The problem, not a problem, but the challenge is that sometimes it takes people to get to that point to make that choice. For example, you could say, well, how long did it take from somebody to get out of a abusive relationship? And in actuality, on the paper, you could look at it and say, well, it took like 6 months. They thought about it, and then it took them 6 months or a year to do it. But in actuality, it took them a moment, because once they made that choice and they said, okay, it's over. I'm not going to be treated like that anymore. In that moment, that's all it took to transform, is that moment, that decision. It may have taken them that long to get to that decision, but still, the decision happens in a moment. And as many of you know the story of me going full-time on YouTube, it was one decision, one choice I made about my identity, one choice I made about who I am that completely transformed my life. And that choice was simply, I'm working this 9-to-5 job I don't like. I'm going to make videos every single day until I no longer have to have this 9-to-5 job. And I made that one choice. And here's the interesting thing about it when it comes to a higher vibrational version of us. It was one choice that I made every day, and realized that what you do every day compounds over time. So it seems kind of like deceiving in a way. There's a book that's called The One Thing by Gary Olson. And basically it's like there's one thing. Or no, that's called The Slight Edge. There is something called The One Thing. There is a book called The One Thing that's personally really good. I think I read it. The Slight Edge. It's one thing every day that will compound over time that changes everything. For example, if somebody every day they go to their job, and on their lunch break what they do is they get soda and Chipotle. Let's say that's what I used to do. Not soda. I used to always get Chipotle though. And here's the thing about Chipotle. Sometimes I used to get the chips and guac. You guys want to know how many calories in the chips and guac at Chipotle? Like 800. No joke, like 800 calories. Most people have like a 2,000 calorie maintenance every day. And half that is in chips and guac, what normally most people consider to be a little like dainty side dish. But here's the thing. I have and I'll have something to share with this as well. If you were to just not drink the soda every day, that's it. Still get your chips and guac, but don't drink the soda. After a day, doesn't really feel like a big difference, right? After a week, not even really that big of a difference. After a month, after 2 months, after 6 months, after a year, that's hundreds of pounds. I don't know about hundreds of pounds, maybe I'm exaggerating. That's like hundreds of ounces of corn syrup, of like thick corn syrup that makes the body acidic, which weakens the immune system, which also is a lot of heavy weight. It's a lot of calories. So that little deficit, that little thing every day could make the difference between you gaining weight and being unhealthy, or you staying within your maintenance, or maintaining where you are, or being more healthy. That one thing, that one soda every day, that's it. That's all it takes, because it compounds over time. There was a time when I used to work at Nordstrom's in women's shoes, and there was it didn't seem like that big of a deal. But what I would do is every day at Johnny Rockets, I would get these cheese fries. And I'd eat these cheese fries, and I just eat one a day. I really enjoyed it. After the course of 3 weeks of doing that, I started to gain some weight. I started to get pudgy. I'm like, what is this? All it was one cheese fries a week, or a day. But every single day it adds up. All that oil, all that cheese, all that stuff. It's crazy. But we don't think about it because it's kind of on autopilot. So the reason I'm saying this is because to really raise your vibration the most, the thing that I really recommend anybody does is to pay attention to what you're doing in a day, because almost everything that's transformed my life is something that I've taken on as a daily habit. You know what's funny is I stopped making daily videos. I made a video every single day for 3 years. I stopped making daily videos to also wire it in that I don't have to work so hard to be successful, which I've done and I've enjoyed to a certain level. However, you want to know something weird? This last week, I've realized I actually think it is easier for me to make a video every single day than it is for me to make videos 3 times a week. It blows my mind. But it's almost like I am so passionate about getting into that flow state that it's I think I prefer to do that. If you told me you got to choose 3 times a week, which is what I've been doing, or every day, I may actually choose the every day. Maybe I'll take 1 day off a week, but it's almost easier for me to get into that flow state because I believe that what I do is I'm channeling what I'm passionate about, and everyone has that ability, by the way. And because I'm doing that every single day, it's almost like that pattern becomes easier for it to flow out. I become more passionate about it. It's interesting how it works, but that's just what I'm learning. So every single day, what are you doing? And there's 3 different aspects that I think that if we apply into our day, these 3 pillars, I think it completely transforms our whole entire life. And they're, in a way, 3 models to live by, or 3 ways of understanding it. Now, first off, the thing I've already talked about, this isn't a part of the pillars, but your identity, the way that you view yourself, what you do every single day has a very powerful effect on the way you see yourself and how you're showing up in the world. Because your outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality. And if your inner reality says, I'm not worthy, I'm only capable of making $50,000 a year, or $20,000 a year, or $1 million, whatever it is, you'll find that your outer reality is a reflection of that. You take the inner action, you feel the inner emotions that are equal to that reality, and that's your outer reflection. The challenge with many of us is we try to change the outer reality. We try to change the outer reflection without first changing our inner reality. And one of the most important things to do is to make a choice about who you are and to let go of who you're not. So when we talk about these pillars, there's going to be pretty much 3 of these aspects. Now, the first one is, of course, letting go, and more specifically, healing and meditation. So that sounds like 3 right there, right? But it's actually not. So there's 3 of these pillars, and to think about it, you need 3. I'm looking at this tripod right now that I'm recording the video of this on. So if you're on the podcast, you didn't know, there's a second YouTube channel called Doughty Podcast, and the video's there if that's your thing to see the video. You can also just listen to me. But I have this tripod, and there's 3 different legs. If there was just 2 legs, it would just tip over. But the 3 make it so that it can stand up. In the same way, that's how this works. Now, on one side, we have letting go, healing. And if you were to look at the chart of consciousness, because what I did when I was looking at like, how do I condense my teachings or a process for raising vibration into like 2 or 3 things, it was very clear to me that there's 2, and then now there's 3. Now I realize that there's actually a third. So if you look at that scale of consciousness, the scale of consciousness is, I'll have Daniel put it right there, Daniel the editor. And if you're listening to this, then it's just that traditional scale of consciousness. You've got shame, fear, anger. Then eventually you have neutrality. Then you have willingness, acceptance, reasoning, which is the intellect of the mind, and then love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And the more we raise our vibration, the more magical, synchronous life becomes. Now, there's 2 main levels on this chart of consciousness. The first one is that of neutrality. Neutrality is where we learn how to observe thoughts rather than react to thoughts. It's where we realize we may think thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. And being neutral means that things below it lose its emotional charge. Because if we have an emotional charge, then we'll keep attracting things into our life that are those patterns we don't want to experience. For example, after my ex-stepmom, between 7 to 16 years old, I felt unworthy, felt like I wasn't enough. I also developed a belief system about women, that women were trying to control me, and I had this like wall up where I was like not wanting to get too intimate and close. And then I kept attracting women in my life that did try controlling me. My first girlfriend after my ex-stepmom was very jealous, very controlling. After that, I broke up with her. I got transferred to a better shoe department at Nordstrom's and Women's Shoes. And the manager of that department was almost the same exact personality as my ex-stepmom. There was always someone in my life to reflect back that belief until I became aware of it and got to neutrality. But at the time, I was working at Nordstrom's and Women's Shoes and salon shoes, designer shoes. And I wasn't passionate about it. But I also felt a lot of resistance because I had ADHD, so I was taking Adderall for that, had harsh side effects. At nighttime, I had to go home and smoke weed in order for me to fall asleep. So I felt really dependent on substances. Like on one hand, I have Adderall, and on the other hand, at nighttime, I have weed, and then I felt like I needed it, and then I did research and came across meditation. And there was like black and white research that shows if you do meditation, it will transform your life, is like what I was reading. And there's a lot of science behind it, reducing cortisol, all that. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And when I did, it completely transformed my life after 3 or 4 days. The first 2 or 3 days, nothing really happened. The 3rd or 4th day, though, I learned how to observe my thoughts rather than react. I didn't try to control them. And then I realized, and I observed the belief that I even had ADHD, that I needed Adderall, that I needed weed. I started observing, and I realized the patterns in my life. I started observing, what are my beliefs about women? What are my beliefs about my life? What are my beliefs about who I am? And in that moment, I realized that I always had someone in my life trying to control me because of that belief. Really what it was too, though, is once I opened up and learned meditation, it changed my life so much. I literally went on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 feeling horrible, 10 feeling amazing. I normally felt at about a 3. All of a sudden, I start using neutrality and neutralizing the lower vibrational emotion by just observing it. And I started to feel like I was at a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I started to literally feel high all the time. I thought that this feeling might eventually go away, and I was afraid of that. But then I realized it didn't go away. It just became my natural set point. Now, of course, it still fluctuates. I'm not always blissed out, but there's times I go down a little bit. But my gravity is definitely higher than it used to be. And now it's just natural. And I believe that that's all of our high states. We don't need alcohol. We don't need substances. We don't need anything. We could just be high by doing the inner work. It's meant to be like our natural state. And in that realization, I realized that the pain of my past, the ex-stepmom thing, my belief about women, all that stuff, all of that pain and all of those things that happened led me to my spiritual awakening. So in the moment of that realization, I changed the meaning of my past, and then it's like it let it go. And here's the crazy thing. Remember, as you change your inner reality, your outer reality changes. As I changed that inner belief system about women and control and unworthiness, that manager got fired within weeks, literally within a week or 2. And it's because I think, it sounds egotistical because there were a lot of other people in the department that wanted her fired. We go to HR about her all the time because she would get away with the craziest things, but she was protected by upper management. But what we ended up doing is she got fired for the dumbest thing. And she did it to herself completely. But it's interesting how these patterns leave once we neutralize the emotion underneath it. What if I had a belief or anger towards my ex-stepmom, and that was keeping people in my life to reflect that back to me until I processed it? So the first pillar of this process is learning how to neutralize by look at and observe different aspects of your life, and then let go and heal the aspects of you that you want to let go of. So it's letting go and it's healing, and really neutrality at 250 is a huge jump in consciousness. And I say this from experience because my life in the lower emotions, all of a sudden, it popped up to the 250. And that was amazing. And then that's the first level. That's the first pillar. It's letting go. Now, what can also go with letting go? Well, one of the things that I recommend is having a meditation practice. I promise you, if you develop a meditation practice of meditating for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and 5 or 10 minutes at night before you go to bed every day, it will completely transform your life over time. Remember, first day, maybe nothing crazy happens. Second day, maybe nothing crazy happens. A month, maybe you notice a little bit of a difference, but with time, as you observe your thoughts and as you observe your emotions, you then see how you can observe things that happen throughout your day. It leaks into the rest of your day. And right when you wake up in the morning, your mind is the most influenceable. Is that a word? And before you go to bed, that's when your mind is most influenceable. So if you are able to observe before that, you're neutralizing resistance. And a daily practice I found to be so powerful. Now, what are other modalities of letting go and neutrality and releasing? Breath work is one of them. Doing shadow work, meaning, I have many episodes on shadow work. Going into the shadow work, understanding your relationship with your parents. Understanding your belief systems that you may have taken on when you were younger. These are all different levels of shadow work. Hypnotherapy, affirmations, meditation. Really, this is like the main pillar for me is like letting go. One of the main modalities is meditation. That's what I talk about. That's what's transformed my life. And that's why I make guided meditations on YouTube, because I believe it's one of the most powerful modalities. But it's letting go. And if you were to focus every single day on letting go, there's also a book by Dr. David Hawkins called Letting Go. It's a very powerful book. It's a letting go technique. And all you do, it's so simple that it sounds too simple almost to a lot of people. You feel the emotion that comes up. You don't try to control it. You let it be there. And you just make the choice to let it go. That's it. It's so simple. But when you're feeling negative emotion, if you let go, like if you look at that scale of consciousness, if you were to let go, you would naturally raise your vibration anyways. That's the way to raise your vibration. It's not to get to a higher ring on the ladder. But when I learned meditation, I'd done breath work before. Breath work was very powerful. Breath work I did, and it was like totally unexpected. Is breathing in a certain pattern very deeply for about 40 minutes. I did it in Costa Rica, and as I was releasing this energy, it literally felt I could feel the trauma leaving my body. Also, TRE, trauma release exercises. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you type in Aaron Doughty trauma, you'll see a video there. And I actually show, by the way, these exercises that I do. It's kind of vulnerable, but I wanted to share to encourage other people to do it. But for a long time, I've carried trauma in my body and not even known. I was like, I dealt with all this back in 2012 when I went through my awakening, not knowing that there's still like this pattern in my body of like a shield up for me connecting with people at a deeper level, because of the fear that if I get too close, something will happen, like the abuse with my ex-stepmom. So that's a modality. What are other modalities? I mean, healing. There's past life regression. I mean, meditation for me, I'd say, is like one of the most powerful. There's bioenergetics, grounding yourself, different forms of therapy. These are all different processes for letting go. And letting go can be very transformative. But when you make it a daily practice for you to let go every single day and to observe your thoughts, your life will begin to change. Now, that's the first pillar. It's letting go. It's healing. It's the shadow work. And think about it. Right now in the present moment, you're going to let go of the past, and you are who you choose to be right now in the present moment. Now, as well, I want to bring this into it. When I started making daily videos on YouTube, I took on the identity of being a full-time YouTuber. I didn't say once I make 70 videos in a row, then I'm a full-time YouTuber. I literally saw myself as a full-time YouTuber. I was being that version of me. I was making daily videos where people would ask me, like, how do you have all this energy to do all this? It was like easy because it was a part of my identity. The only time it's hard is when we don't see ourselves as that. And it's really just a choice we make. It's like, how do you do that? You just make a choice about who you are. And it gets easier as you go. There's going to be an initial time where it's a little bit more difficult. And then it gets easier. It becomes autopilot. It's like when you go to the gym. If it's your first time ever going to the gym, it's going to kind of suck for about 3 weeks. But eventually, you start to get high from it. It's almost like you get high from it. You enjoy it. You start doing yoga, same thing. Whatever your form of physical exercise is. I like cycling now. First couple times cycling, I didn't really enjoy it that much. I love cycling. I take my bike. I go up and down different, trails and stuff, and I love it. It gets easier too, and it gets more autopilot, and then I'm able to get into a flow state. It's awesome. So letting go, neutrality, observation, different healing modalities. There's a million different healing modalities for that, but that's the first pillar. The second pillar is now that we've let go, the key is wiring in. And wiring in is directly related to purpose. It must be connected to your heart. It must, this is the thing when it comes to abundance. Now, if you chase money, money's always going to kind of be going away from you. You don't want to chase money. You want money to follow you. Money follows you when you're doing what you're passionate about, because money is a side effect of the value you put out into the world. And when you're doing your passion, you're adding value. The energy you put out, literally the energy you create in your energetic field is adding value. It's very energy giving, and people can feel that. It's contagious. When I get into a flow state in my videos, people enjoy it. They feel it. And then it reflects back to them the flow state that exists within them. That's all we are for each other anyways, are these reflections. So the next level, so if you look at that scale of consciousness again, I'll have Daniel put that back up, is you see neutrality at 250. Then you see 400 is reasoning. Now, if you look at the middle levels of willingness, acceptance, reasoning, these are the levels of happiness and productivity. This is when we're doing what we're passionate about. For me, that's making videos, it's making content, that's sharing ideas with the world. For you, it could be creating art. It could be reading certain types of books, doing research. It could be you building a team, working and learning about more of what you're passionate about. There's a million different things that this could be. And it doesn't have to be one thing your whole entire life. It can change. And if you simply set the intention to figure out what that is, you'll start to get reflections in your life. Just hold that intention. But the second level of reasoning is wiring in the meaning. Think about purpose. Purpose is meaning, right? We give our life meaning, but our soul is aligned with a certain frequency and we'll know when we're doing what we're passionate about by how we feel. It is not difficult for me to make videos because I love doing it. I was just becoming aware that I was overdoing it for a long time and having this pressure on myself, and that's why I went from 6 videos a week, 6 or 7 videos a week to 3 videos a week. So wiring in. And the thing that I recommend you do is wire in something every single day. Remember, I made a video every single day, 3 weeks, and then a video popped off. And if it took a month, it would have taken a month. If it took 6 months, it would take 6 months. But I was so passionate about it that I just trusted the vision. And when you're wiring something in, you got to remember there's going to be a temporary reflection of the old reality. And maybe that old reality is one where you don't really prefer to experience it, but there's a reflection there, almost like a delay. If we trust our vision and we are this identity, this version of us, and we're wiring it in every single day because it's who we are, what we'll find is that it becomes easier and easier as we go, but then the outer reality begins to change. And it becomes easier because it becomes a part of our identity, a part of who we are. But there may be an initial delay because we've been a different way for maybe years, maybe 10 years. And that different way has a little bit of momentum that needs to die out. Doesn't mean it's going to take 10 years for it to die out, but it means trust the vision. Trust the vision. Make a choice about who you are and trust that vision, and then make sure you're connected to your heart. That's the thing that I think is very important. Anytime I fall out of integrity, I can feel it, and I start seeing resistance in my life. But when I get back to my heart, when I get back to what I enjoy, that's when things really happen in a powerful way. And remember as well, when you're wiring in the identity, what I did is I saw it natural for the version of me that was making daily videos. I saw it natural for me to do that. It wasn't on this big pedestal like, oh my God, if this happens, oh my God, this looks so hard. No, it was natural. Think of the version of you that's living your ideal life and realize that that version of you, it is natural for you to be doing what you love. It is natural for you to be around people that you love being around. It is natural. This stuff is all natural. When it's on a pedestal, we create resistance and we create energetic blocks to it. And think about it too. Anytime we put something on a pedestal, what we're doing is we're making that more important than us. And we're also infusing fear into it. Infusing fear because we're afraid that if it doesn't happen the way that we imagine it should happen, then we can lose it. And that's doubt. Belief is that the universe is flowing through you. If there's one thing about purpose and all of this, because even the higher levels, when you look at that scale of consciousness, 400 and 499, that's like purpose and meaning, that and below. 500 above is love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. That is where the divine is literally flowing through you. And every single person watching this right now is a divine spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And you've come here to have this experience through using this ego avatar. But when you allow the divine to flow through you, that's when magic really begins to happen. That's why letting go is so powerful, because you're letting go of the ego avatars holding on to things, trying to control things. The ego avatars attachment to positionalities. A positionality is simply a perspective or a charge of energy. And when you realize that everything is perfect as it is meant to be, you can begin to let go more and more. And the more you let go, the higher your vibration raises. But one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to let the divine flow through you. And you do that when you get into a passionate, channeled state. Every one of you is a channeler. Every one of you. You could channel when you're playing basketball. You can channel when you're creating art. You can channel when you're having different conversations with people you love to be around. You channel. We're all channelers. We're channeling our higher selves. And we do that in different ways. Some of us do that in ways of expression. Some of us do that with things we're passionate about, by studying things, by analyzing, whatever it is. Realize you came here to channel your higher self and give life beautiful, beautiful meaning. And realize that a powerful insight of raising your vibration in one of these, 3 pillars to live by. And so far we have letting go and neutrality. And secondly, we have that of wiring in and passion, is realizing that everything in our life has zero built-in meaning other than the meaning we give it. So when I looked at my stepmom situation from 7 to 16 years old, guess what? I was angry at it. I had an emotional charge to it, and I kept attracting people into my life to reflect that back. When I changed the meaning of it, it was actually a neutral thing. And it's funny because I can see how I responded to it and how other people in my family responded to that same situation. We have very different outcomes and very different ways we relate to people because of the meaning we gave it. If you go out on a rainy day, some people may be dancing in the rain and some people may be bitterly looking through the window at the rain, which shouldn't have come today. What's the difference? The meaning each has given it. Some of the meanings are conditioned and given to us. Maybe that person that's mad on the inside, bitterly looking outside, maybe their parents acted the same way, or maybe they had a negative experience growing up, and that's why they are that way. They gave it that meaning when they were young. Person that's dancing in the rain, maybe they were passed that down, or maybe they were like me and lives in Vegas, and it doesn't rain very often, so I love it when it does like that, you see? It's the meaning we give it, but we can change the meaning. It's flexible. It's malleable. Your identity is flexible. Your identity is malleable. You are who you choose to be in the present moment right now. And every moment's a new moment. It's just that we hold ourselves into past patterns because we are being rigid with letting our identity change or not. I made the choice. Yes, I've had a literal women's shoe sales job for 8 years, but I'm choosing to see myself differently now. I am now a YouTuber. I'm creating videos every single day. This is who I am. Even if there's a mere delay and it takes a while for my outer reality to change. So these are the first 2 steps. Letting go, neutrality, observation of thoughts. Bring that into your everyday routine. The next one is passion, meaning. Bring that into your everyday morning, your routine, whether that's reading about what you're passionate about, learning more about it. There's different aspects of my passion I had to learn about. I had to learn not just about how to make videos. I had to learn marketing. I had to learn how to create thumbnails. I had to learn editing. I had to learn different facets of it. But I was passionate about this vision that I had, this vision of being a higher vibrational version of me doing what I love and me living life on my own terms and not having to go to a job that I'm not passionate about. And I think every single one of us has the ability to really tap into that. And remember, do it every single day, whatever it is. If it's art, create art every day. It doesn't have to be a whole art piece every day, but you can add to it every day. You could learn something new every day about something you're passionate about. You could set the intention every day to find out what your passion could be. And as you start to follow it, you'll find that you get more and more synchronicity and more feedback as to what that could be. Now, the final part of this is one of the most important, I think, and it's most often overlooked, but it has to do with environment/tribe. So the 3 pillars: letting go and neutrality, passion/purpose/meaning, 400s. This one is tribe, and realizing that the people you're around are like osmosis. The people you're around, their energy fields are literally trickling onto you. I was reading this in a book last night. I think it was Letting Go, or one of Dr. David Hawkins' books. And what he talked about, and he's a very practical guy, but there's some esoteric stuff in there I find very interesting. One thing he said is that in our energetic fields, we have energy thought forms that are literally going around our body. And what happens is when we are thinking many positive thoughts or having positive beliefs about ourselves, we're feeding positive thought forms around our body. Now, what happens is if we start feeding the negative ones, it's almost like the wolf analogy. It's like we all have like a wolf inside of us or something, like an angry wolf and a happy wolf. I forget the exact analogy. I'm butchering it up. But the evil wolf and the good wolf, well, which one has the power is the one you feed? It's the same thing. There's positive thought forms and negative thought forms all around your body. And the ones that you are feeding with your thoughts and your energy and your emotion are the ones that are growing and then attracting to you different things. And if you're having negative thoughts, then those might be actually blocking you from experiencing that which you want. Imagine you have negative thought forms and negative energy around you, around love and relationships, and then you're going out and you feel a block to love, or you feel a block with intimacy, and you don't know why, and then it's because there's an energetic, almost repellingness to those thought forms. This isn't a very practical author's book. This isn't just esoteric stuff. Now, here's the thing. The people you're around, you're literally around their thought forms and it's osmosis that's trickling into you. Now, it doesn't mean they always have power over you, but in general, your vibration is a combination of the 5 people you're around the most. And that has an impact on you even at subconscious levels. Their belief systems, the way they think, their eating patterns, it affects us more than we think. So having a high vibe tribe, I have found, is one of the most powerful ways to really raising your frequency. And understanding this dynamic. And it's not just high vibe. You might say, well, I don't have high vibe tribe around. Well, first off, you have a lot of people online, and there's ways of connecting to them. And one thing I'm building right now is I'm building a way for us to all connect together in that way that really takes these 3 concepts and puts it all into one thing. But tribe-wise, we're all meant to connect together. And if you're here right now, there's people below this video or on this podcast that are of a similar vibe. People on my Instagram. That's why I'm trying to connect us all together, because I believe we're all here. We all have this in common. We're into this spiritual information. We all connect. Now, it's not just this, though. It's also environment. There's things I do even in my house. I put energy and intention all throughout my house. There's artwork. There's all these, even that wave behind me has a certain energy charge to it. I put intention into a lot of things that I do, but also what is your inner environment like? What are you consuming? I noticed that when it was a long time ago, I was watching that show on Netflix called Black Mirror. And it's a good show. It's a good episodes, but it was like having an effect on my consciousness. I could feel my dreams getting kind of twisted in these things. So I stopped doing it because it wasn't actually feeding my inner environment. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy that every now and then, because we also don't have to be thinking everything has power over us. But in general, there's certain content that if I consume, I feel like it lowers my vibe. What is your inner environment like? What are you paying attention to? Are you watching videos that raise your vibe? Are you reading books that raise your vibe? Are you listening to music that raise your vibe? These are all different things that we can hack that then go into us in a very powerful way. So inner environment and even your outer environment with your tribe and people like that. And for those of you that don't know, there was something I did back in that I was mentioning earlier in August, something called the 21-Day Raise Your Vibration Challenge. And what this is 21 days of raising your vibration to a new high vibrational you. And you go through different videos of pretty much letting go of old beliefs, letting go of old patterns, and then wiring in a new way of being. However, here's the thing about it. It's not just like videos like on YouTube. There's actually a component of accountability with it, where you go into the group and you do different things, or you post a photo of you doing different things, and there's accountability there. And what that did is it created a magical group of like people, what's called the High Vibe Tribe, that are connected together, that it's become like magic. It took on a whole new life of its own. And there's so many people from all over the world in there. There's over 3,000 people that have been through the 21-Day Raise Your Vibration Challenge. And it's so cool to see how many people's, just see people's results with that. And the community that's been built because of it. And it's something that, it's something that if you want to join as well, you can go to AaronDoughty.com/challenge, CHALLENGE. You can join the challenge right now. I'm going to make sure that whenever this goes up, that's open, because what I'm actually going to be doing is closing it soon and then just opening it a couple times a year so that we can all go through it together, because it's very magical. But if you're seeing this right now, then there is an opportunity for you to join. If you go to AaronDoughty.com/challenge, CHALLENGE, and you can also go to raiseyourvibrationchallenge.com. That'll also take you there. But it's 21 days to a new high vibrational you. And it is, it's the most engaging thing that I've ever done. And I'm excited for us to all go through it again soon. And if you're seeing this, then that's the opportunity right now. So anyways, those are the three. Letting go, neutrality, observation. Passion is the second pillar, which has to do with wiring in every single day. Remember, these are things we do every single day. That's why in that 21-day challenge, every single day, there's something to do, because you begin to wire in this community aspect as well, which is the third level, which is tribe environment. And as you are connecting into these different things, guess what? It's going to raise your vibration to a completely new level, and you're going to find that you become this new high vibrational version of you. So anyways, those are the three pillars of raising vibration. Those are the three pillars I live by. I've created a high vibe tribe in my life. I've wired in what I love doing. I've been really, even to this day, still working on letting go of different aspects, but it's been a very powerful journey. These are the three things that I know will change your life if you apply them. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace, much love, and namaste.